It all started with this poster. I found a curious Vendeka poster I mused over purchasing, and as I attempted to locate the fan road issue it originated from, this popped up in my search. I left it on the back burner for a while, but eventually searched the title in Japanese. Or, well, most of it. Nadia's Secret of the Blue Water. A 39-episode anime series from 1990. I finished it last night, and let me tell you, it was a whirlwind of emotions. Or, well, a couple of nights ago at this point, reading the script. However, as I went through episode after episode, Nadia in her red pea coat with longer hair never seemed to surface. Episode 39 rolled around, and although the only La Femme Rouge was Grandis, it was great. Almost perfect. Almost. I think we need to have a little chat about that. But for now, let's talk about the movie. Yes, less than 2 months after Nadia finished, she received her own theatrical film. I suspected that may be the case, and I really wish I was wrong. This might be one of the worst anime movies I have ever seen. I really wanted to like this film. I did, and there's a few things that I did enjoy, but they're far outnumbered by the things that I didn't. The biggest mistake this film makes is by wasting roughly the first half hour with pointless flashbacks. I ended up skipping through most of it, only stopping for the scant new scenes in between. People say the editing for the reel is bad. I'm willing to take their word on that. All that wasted time could have been spent making the villains, interesting, and creating a compelling story. But no, it may as well not even be there. Had I not already seen Nadia, I would not only be confused, but probably wouldn't appreciate some of the lackluster highlight reels spoiling the actually good anime. With that said, let's talk about... Nadia, despite realizing her feelings for Jean, leaves him for 2 years to become independent before they can be together, because she doesn't want to depend on him. Not a terrible premise, but it does seem a little bit out of character at this point. She's treated like shit as women in the workplace would have been, but she gets a huge break with the current happenings. People are seemingly evaporating. World leaders and people in power. That's a pretty big issue, pretty big scoop, let me tell you. If that were to actually happen, of course. The intro, if you're not listening or reading closely, makes it seem like this is the onset of World War I, but it's not. It's still the 19th century. It appears this is probably just a few years after the anime, 1893, 1894, I don't know. Unless Nadia left Jean months after, which would make it the tail end of 1892. Regardless, Nadia's source ends up recognizing her, and the men pursuing him have Atlantean symbols on their clothing. So it's not a new threat, it's an offshoot of the previous threat. Which, Nadia just freezes up and then eludes them after an unreasonable amount of time. Like, seriously, what is she doing? Look at this. There's no editing here. Then she mails the guy's papers to Jean before being abducted, who saves some generic anime girl with a stupid name, Fuzzy, that washed up in his backyard. Oh, and then Grandis and co knock Jean out and abduct her. It's really a stupid scene, although Grandis does look cool. They deliver the girl to the bad guys who double-cross them. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that this would happen? Completely unpredictable plot point. Then Jean catches up somehow and almost saves her. Then he gets kidnapped and reunited with Nadia. The bad guy just wanted to capture Fuzzy because... Well, this guy just likes to kill anyone he deems useless, and this is the daughter of the doctor he's working with, and he doesn't want any loose ends, I guess? I don't know. It seems... I still don't understand it. So this guy's made out to be scarier than Gargoyle. But he's just some old Dragon Ball Z looking jackass that proclaims himself as the greatest ruler.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
Ruler of what, though? A brief organization that replaced government officials in secret? What was he ruling over? I mean, an operation, a plan? Like, that's impressive, I guess, to get away with it to that point, but I don't know. I feel like there would be people in the running that may be better. Just a thought. But yeah, that's the whole thing with this movie. This guy just had government officials abducted and replaced by robots. Cool concept, but poorly executed. Fuzzy's father, again, is the doctor that created the robots, or well, realized them, I guess. I don't remember exactly because it was fucking stupid. This guy was excommunicated from academia for being a heretic because he came up with some crackpot theory about space energy feeding life. No, not dark energy. It's some stupid space amoeba or whatever. And living beings automatically take and release the perfect amounts. Robots don't, though. That's why they evaporate. Makes sense, right? Because the consciousness makes them take it in. Are they really alive, though? Only one seemed to be. Why would that work? I digress. Grandis teams up with Jean and Nadia, and not a word is said about what they did, as though it never happened. Nadia and Jean are in an Arnold Schwarzenegger film for a little bit until they reach the door. Turns out Fuzzy's a bot. Who would have guessed? Didn't see that coming from the beginning or anything. Sumimasen. I mean, Jinzo Ningen. Like Juhashigo to Junanago. The doctor hates his fake human daughter until she takes a bullet for him. Then all of a sudden, he has empathy and changes his mind about humanity and goes to blow everything up. He does it. Everyone escapes on the New Groton, and the bad guy lives for a minute and tries to kill them again, but his own dumb tower falls on him and kills him. Crashes on him. Whatever. And then Fuzzy finally dies because the tower was a receptor or some stupid thing for all the Jinzo Ningen. They dig her a grave and Nadia writes a book about her. And also gargoyle, I guess, so she becomes a successful novelist at the end. Okay. So let's start with what I liked about this movie. Nadia's red jacket, La Femme Rouge. C'est très élégant. I liked Grandis in that suit. The Jean Nadia action sequence, as out there as it was pretty entertaining. In fact, my favorite part was when Nadia flipped onto the dive board and got shot. Or grazed her because the treatment was just cutting her clothes off. And there was no blood. I liked the concept of Fuzzy and almost, operative word, almost, felt sad that she died. I think it's a good concept that just didn't have proper execution. Her emotional drifting from one person to another until finally being saved and receiving some penance from her father was alright. Nothing great though. The whole Nadia finishing a book about her thing was sweet, the last in the group's series of adventures. With that said, what I didn't like, I explained the highlight reel issues already and how it's just a time waster. The biggest issue after that is Grandis, Sanson, and Hansen turning to crime, knocking Jean out and kidnapping Fuzzy. What the fuck? This is something they do at the beginning, not the end of the series. Nemo asked Grandis to watch over the kids, so Jean, Nadia, and probably Marie. Granted, she really failed with her then. In the film, she acts like she hasn't seen Jean since the incident on the Red Noah and callously disregarded him. So entirely out of character. And Jean just acts like it never happened. They're all friends as they team up against Geiger. That's the villain's name, by the way. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. Whatever, who cares? Which they didn't even bother doing at the beginning. Fear of this loser after everything they went through together? Please, what a joke. Nadia's also pointlessly jealous. She's a schoolgirl again. Wowzers. She sees Jean with another girl out of context, so she regresses back to how she was when she was 14. Awful writing. Clearly Fuzzy was just a scared girl that was traumatized, which would be obvious to anyone that looked at her, but no. Nadia clearly can't do simple addition. I guess she took after Marie when she went to integrate into the industrial city of London. Because Nadia, who loves nature and animals, would settle for her independence in a foggy, dreary, congested city during the Industrial Revolution. And she's so demure by comparison. She hasn't changed her personality around Jean, but for everyone else she has, right? For a moment, she asserts herself to the newspaper chief, but it's brief. Oh, and then she gets shot by the big boss. The paper's president, I guess? Nadia the acrobat, who avoided those street punks with ease and their bullets and guns, just takes the paralyzing bullet. Ugh. Not even by compelling villains. These guys are just so boring. I thought the girl with glasses was going to be this cool rival character who would fight her, but no. She just accidentally gets shot and dies. There's no personality beyond the ambus ruler ever, guys. Trust me, please, guy. He sucks. He sucks. Like, he's just... Maybe that's the point. The rowboat Jinzos are soulless, just like their creators and affiliates. No, of course not. Maybe worst of all is how it's telegraphed and boringly foreshadowed for everything it is. As I mentioned, I could tell Fuzzy was going to be a fraud from the start when she was talking about death and the whole "you're not my daughter" bullshit. It was just as predictable as the doctor's change of heart. Very contrived. And even John's "no, you're already human" line. I could go on and on about this movie, but I think I've said enough. Also, the animation is pretty lackluster with only a couple of highlights, while the art suffers quite a bit throughout. Sometimes their mouths don't even move when they're talking, which is something I noticed during the floating island and Africa arcs in the anime as well. It's just not what you'd expect to see in theaters. It's like a direct-to-VHS film that airs late one night at 2 a.m. and then you remember it 20 years later out of random because of some stupid poster. I'm going to have to explain to people why I have this poster hanging on my wall. I just know it.